I I don't even feel comfortable saying the name of the person involved in this case. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please do subscribe, and if you're old here, hello again. My name's Kate Philpott and I cover true crime cases on my channel. Also, I do just want to put a disclaimer out there. Any information I provide in this video is based off articles I've read, interviews, and accounts of those involved in the case in some way, and it's just what I found on the internet and put all into one video. So I do apologize if any of those details are inaccurate. You can't be 100% sure sometimes. This video is going to be a little different because I I don't even feel comfortable saying the name of the person involved in this case. I was actually supposed to put this video up a couple of weeks ago, but what ended up happening is I realized after a whole week of researching it that it's really sensitive, and this is still something that I would love to discuss with you guys and I would love to hear your opinions on, but it's not exactly safe to say this person's name. The reason why it's not safe is this is about a very dangerous person who has demonstrated homicidal tendencies but hasn't yet killed anyone. And because they haven't killed anyone yet, they don't really have a way to detain them fully, and this person might get out in the next couple of months. Like, they're awaiting trial at the moment. I'll get into all the details and you'll see exactly what I mean, but I don't exactly want them searching their name and then my face to come up. So there's also that, along with the fact that there was a court order not to identify this person. There's a lot of controversy around it and around what's happening, and because of that, the courts basically want as few people to talk about it as possible. I don't want to get myself in any trouble. I don't want to put myself in any danger. So interesting case, want to talk about it, but not going to say their name. So because of all that, I'm going to provisionally name this person Alex. And also, if anyone figures out who this person is during the video, like, I just urge you not to put their name in the comments. I'll delete those comments if you do, so there's no point. So let's get into this case. So this is the case of Alex. Alex has just turned 19 years old and is a biological male but now identifies as a female. So I'm going to do my best to try and refer to them as their gender at the time of each of these stories, just so that it makes sense from a storytelling point of view and you get the whole image of what's going on. And also, I do just want to make it clear, I have absolutely no issue with transgender people in general. I might say some stuff in this video that will come across as maybe a little controversial, but hold off on, there's a reason for it. And I mean, absolutely no disrespect to anyone who is transgender. This is a different issue. So the scary thing about this case is Alex is described as a homicidal woman and is about to be released from prison. She has significant mental health issues, has had fantasies about sexually assaulting, torturing, and killing women, and has demonstrated a pattern of criminal and extreme physical and sexual violence against women. So let's get into Alex's background and early life. And Alex only received their gender recognition certificate in August of 2020. So all in those previous years, she was Alex the male, at least legally. Like, there was a period of her identifying as a female before the law recognized it, just so that's clear. And for that reason, I will describe Alex as a little boy, because we're going into early life. Alex was born a male. And with that in mind, Alex's home life was fairly awful. He was born into a household of extreme depravity, and his parents had what was described as a sadomasochistic relationship. Sadomasochism being described as taking pleasure from inflicting or suffering pain or humiliation. When a judge looked at this case, they said, quote, "The degree of dysfunctionality experienced by Alex as a child was extraordinarily severe, and realistically we probably only know a tiny fraction of what went on." So according to the mother, the father was extremely violent and controlling, as well as physically and sexually abusive towards the mother. He was also physically and emotionally abusive towards his son, Alex. And originally, when Alex was born, the mother was forbidden to do the following: breastfeeding the baby, talking to the baby, responding to the baby's cries, and so on and so forth. So this mother was being forced to push her maternal instincts to the side. And Alex as a baby was essentially being ignored and abandoned, even though he lived in the same home as his parents. So touching on the abuse aspect, the physical abuse involved the father beating up the mother and sometimes even attacking her with hot oil. But not only this, the father also basically recruited his son to take part in the abuse against his mother. At least to take part in the physical abuse aspect. It's not really public knowledge on whether there was a sexual aspect there. And the crazy thing here is this all happened before the child was even 8 years old. If it looks like I'm crying, I am. The light is really bright and my eyes just are deciding not to deal with that today, so I might be crying. So yeah, all this was like the child's only source of human interaction, basically. And with regards to school and stuff, I'm guessing that this child was homeschooled. I did see that this was their only form of human interaction, so surely they weren't in an external school then. I haven't seen it explicitly said though, so I'm not altogether sure. But yeah, with what we know to be major risk factors in serious mental health issues and or violent behavior in adults, I mean, we're really setting this child up for like serious issues as an adult. Like, these are your most crucial years of development. And it's not only that this child witnessed his mother being abused, but he was also forced to take part. And as a result, he physically assaulted his own mother. And this then teaches him that not only is violence okay, but maybe it even gives you a high. Maybe it's exhilarating. Oh, I don't even like saying that out loud, but you can just see what this child is being set up to believe, because I'm sure that would literally change the physical makeup of your brain's chemistry, like, ooh. So in 2010, when Alex was 8 years old, Alex and his mother fled to a women's refuge to escape the abusive husband and father. But the staff at this refuge quickly became concerned about Alex's violence towards his mother. So the two of them actually spent a year and a half there, and that was when they moved out of the women's refuge and into rented accommodation. And this was in 2012. At this point, 10-year-old Alex brutally attacked his mother. So from here, Alex was moved into foster care and hasn't seen his mother since 2012, since that attack. Alright, so let's get into Alex in foster care. During this time, Alex would discuss his plans to kill his mother. This would also include a detailed scheme on obtaining her address and breaking into her home. And obviously, somehow this word got back to Alex's mother, so she ended up going into basically the equivalent of a witness protection program. She fled to another unknown part of the country to ensure her safety from her own son. Seriously intense. Like, this poor woman, her husband was abusive towards her. Her husband was such a piece of crap that he taught their son to abuse her, and now she's afraid of her son ever finding out where she even lives. Where's the father though? That's what I want to know. Like, he doesn't seem like the type of person that should be a free man. Unfortunately, I couldn't even find his name, so I couldn't even get that information, but I'm hoping he's in prison somewhere. So during Alex's early teens, while he was still in foster care, he displayed violent and extreme sexual behaviors towards the female staff, or any female care staff that happened to be involved. He also kept a list of female care staff names that he intended to harm. So at the age of 16, Alex was in the juvenile justice system, and in May of 2018, he was in a car on the way to court. There was a driver, and then the social worker was in the passenger seat, and Alex was in the seat directly behind the social worker. Now, this part is, if you're squeamish about violence, I'm gonna put a timestamp in the description, because this part is like, I'm not even that squeamish about violence, but this is intense, so just letting you know. On this car journey, Alex reached his hands around and not only with his fingers but his nails tried to gouge out the social worker's eyes. Luckily, this woman managed to close her eyes in time, but she had severe lacerations on her eyelids. Her eyelids were torn. Alex then wrapped his legs around the victim's head and chest and refused to let go. He violently bit the social worker on the hand, as well as ripping out her hair and trying to choke her. And all while this was happening, he repeatedly threatened to kill her. So luckily and somehow they managed to stop the car and call the police. But after this attack, this social worker had to be hospitalized. Like it was bad. And when Alex was interviewed by the police, he said that he regretted that he failed to kill her. Also, according to Alex, the sound of this woman screaming, crying, and begging him to stop was, quote, music to his ears while he was mauling this woman. So also while he was being questioned by the police, he was found to have kept a memento. Guys, he literally kept a chunk of this social worker's hair in his pocket, like as a trophy. And from criminal psychology, we do know that keeping a memento is a pretty big red flag for someone that will commit violent acts like this again. So because Alex was only a juvenile, he served 5 months in detention. Obviously, it's pretty difficult to punish a minor for something like this, but I just, like, this was an attempted murder. Like, he literally tried to kill her and regretted that he didn't. 5 months. Oh, I don't know. Ugh. Also, during this time in detention, Alex also had excruciating levels of anxiety, and an assessment following this attack found that Alex had a personality disorder and very little capacity for managing his own feelings. On top of this, around this time, Alex repeatedly expressed the desire that he wanted to kill his own mother. And even though Alex hasn't murdered anyone yet, he has expressed a desire to sexually assault, torture, and kill women. Alright, let's get into the whole gender reassignment aspect of this case, because it's not really as straightforward or as wholesome as one might expect. Not that you're expecting wholesomeness from from my true crime channel, but like, at least this part should be wholesome, but it's not. So up until 2015, Alex didn't show any mention of being transgender, but in 2015 he was placed in a home with a transgender person. Bearing in mind he would have been 13, 14 at this point, so still pretty young, like a person might not know yet at that age. But it was after spending a year living with this person that suddenly Alex came out and said, "Oh, I'm transgender." And this could be one of a few things. And again, just want to put it out there, no disrespect to the transgender community. This is just specific to this case, and you'll see what I mean. So this could be that thing where, like, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and since Alex now lived with a transgender person, he may have started to become more like them. So it could have been that kind of effect. It could have been B, being around another transgender person educated Alex on what it means to be transgender and made him realize, oh, me too. Or C, and bear with me on this, but it might have been part of a larger criminal plan. Now, I know, I know without any context that sounds absolutely horrible for me to say, but trust me, like, just hold on for a sec. When I explain where this theory comes from, you'll see exactly what I mean. So some of you may have heard of the Tavistock House, which is basically an organization that helps young people, I guess, figure out their gender. It provides them with kind of help and stuff. I'm probably explaining it wrong. That's not like all that important, but basically they assessed Alex and they said that he ticked all the boxes for gender dysphoria, but displayed a, quote, notable lack of affect. Affect being the emotional aspect. So factually, everything Alex said was like exactly what they needed to hear, but there was zero emotional aspect coming from Alex about wanting to become a woman. But the interesting thing here is in their assessment, they literally said that it was as if he had learned off exactly what to say, had researched the area, and was able to provide a tick box list of symptoms that are required for the formation of the diagnosis. All right, so keep that in mind, especially along with the fact that apparently the Tavistock House are pretty liberal in who they allow to reassign their gender. Like, allow is probably the wrong word, but like, you get what I mean. And they recommended then as a result that there was really no necessity or no benefit of gender reassignment in this case, or hormone treatment or anything like that. However, with all that said, Alex did receive their gender recognition certificate this year. So that's that. Under the law of this country, if you identify as a woman, you are legally considered a woman. So in the media, Alex has been referred to a dangerous young woman, but just so you know, hasn't had any hormone treatment or surgeries or anything of that nature. Now, this is where it poses a problem. It's the fact that the public were warned basically about this dangerous young woman, but And again, this is not me being disrespectful or anything, but this is very clearly a biological male with makeup and a wig. I don't even like saying that because I don't want to disrespect her transitioning, but from a criminal aspect and like a public safety point of view.
Hi, Editing Kate here. I don't think this makes a whole lot of sense the way I describe this. So basically, the reason I'm bringing this up is just because, as a biological male, as someone with male hormones and male physical makeup, we know that they tend to be more dangerous than females, and that's where all this is coming from. Like, it's nothing to do with what gender they identify as, it is simply a fact of the physical makeup of this person and the fact that the public didn't really know exactly what to look out for, if that makes sense.
But then I understand that it is difficult because in the country that this person is from, if you identify as a woman, you have every right to be legally referred to as such. So if there are news articles about you, you should be referred to as a woman. All right, let's get into something that's quite interesting, and that's the Twitter account. This person has a Twitter account. It's still on Twitter, and I would show you, but it's the whole anonymity thing. From here on, I'm going to refer to Alex as female because it was, I'm not sure of the exact timeline, but it was around from here on that Alex started to really identify as female. So Alex, from here on, for storytelling purposes, is now a female. Alex basically started this Twitter account, and every time there was an attack or an article about her, she would share it and say, "This was me. I did this. DM me, contact me." Like, she was insanely proud of her work. Not only was Alex now enjoying these violent acts and threatening people and all this stuff, but she was now enjoying the attention that she was getting for it. Like, basking in that attention. So, where's Alex right now? In September of this year, 2020, actually, I've just realized this video is going up on the 1st of January, so last year. Oh, finally! So, in September of last year, Alex was due to be released into the community, but instead was actually remanded in custody. And this was in a small women's prison. So at the time of her arrest, Alex was out on bail for sexually assaulting 2 women and threatening to kill or cause serious harm to a third. She had also apparently threatened to do some serious harm to herself. And when she was arrested, she repeatedly threatened to take her own life, but later she claimed that these threats were empty threats and she had no intention. It was just about getting her own way. But this is the difficult part about this case, all right? So, in front of authorities, Alex made it very clear that she wanted to be detained in a women's prison because she identified as a woman. But can we just look back at like her ideal victims? Like, Alex wants to sexually assault, torture, and kill women. So this causes a serious threat against other inmates if you think about it. This person is literally described as homicidal, meaning they want to kill other people, women specifically. So how is it ethical or okay to detain her in a women's prison surrounded by her ideal victim pool? Authorities are attempting to keep her away from other inmates, but this country has a history of not having great prisoner protection in place. So, honestly, if I was one of those inmates, I would be pretty damn scared. And just to put this into perspective, for those of you who have seen the April Jones case that I put up a couple of weeks ago, this is like keeping the likes of Mark Bridger, for example, in a prison surrounded by girls, 16 and under? It's not an ideal situation. And the maybe even more worrying thing about this is Alex is currently awaiting trial, but she might get out because she hasn't actually killed anyone yet. They don't have a whole lot to detain her for. But then, like, her own mother is actually in hiding because of how much of a threat Alex is to her. To the point where if anybody publicly disclosed Alex's mother's location, it would be a criminal offense. And honestly, I'm so glad that that is the case because so often things like this aren't taken seriously. So I'm glad that that's the case. But then also, how how should this person be kept out in public, like in society? But then also, is it ethical to keep them in a women's prison surrounded by their ideal victims? Oh, I don't know. So here's the debate, right? Under the law of this country that Alex is from, if you say you're a woman, you are legally seen as a woman. And in general, I think that law is great and very progressive, and just trying to see it through the eyes of the transgender community, that seems fair. But the kicker is the fact that when it comes to criminals and somebody demonstrates a deep desire to sexually assault, attack, torture, kill a certain group, when the statistics tell us that biological males are more dangerous than biological females. And I just can't help but think, like, was this intentional on Alex's part? You know, when she was assessed by the Tavistock Clinic, they basically said, yeah, it's like she learned off all these things to tick boxes. It's like she researched the area and exactly what we're looking for, but there was no emotional aspect of it. Like, she didn't have the emotions that they would expect from a person that wants to transition. That's what I mean by, was this part of a larger criminal plan? Was it the plan to become a woman just to get access to more women so that she could play out these desires on them? Look, it's a really controversial topic, and I hope I've explained it in a fair way. Like, I've said it a few times during this video, like, I have absolutely no problem with someone being transgender. Like, why would it bother me? It's nothing to do with me. But it's just in a criminal sense, if they're really dangerous and homicidal, I don't know. And also, then there's the fact that, like, this person hasn't even murdered anyone yet. So they don't really have a good reason to, like, keep them detained. So, like, they might just be allowed out in society. Oh. So yeah, you can see why I don't want to say this person's name or where they're from and all this. It's just, I just don't want to be associated with the finer details. I hope that's okay, and I'm sorry there haven't been any pictures of this person for that reason as well. I just really want to know what you guys think should be done in this case. Like, it's one of those issues that's probably never really been dealt with in previous years, because more people are coming out as transgender nowadays than, like, what, 50 years ago or whatever. But other than that, that leads me to the end of this case. If you enjoyed this kind of video and, like, the debate about, like, criminal, like, what to do about a person, like, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know if this is your kind of thing. Comment down below what your thoughts are, because this is probably, yeah, probably the most controversial case that I've covered. So because of that, I'm, like, kind of afraid of the comments a little bit. But other than that, my TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter are all katephilpott_YT. Also, I have, like, a new way of true crime TikToks now. I think this might be, like, a good idea. I'm not sure. I'm gonna play around with this new idea for, like, how to tell a true crime story on TikTok without just being like fact, fact, fact. Like, it's kind of boring. No, it's not boring, but, like, I wanna do it in a different way and, like, see how that goes. So check it out. I do also take case suggestions in the form in the description down below, but I will also say I have a lot of requests that have come through. Like, it's insane that people actually want to see that much from me. So thank you for the people that have sent in requests, but I'm sorry if I can't get around to them, like, soon, because there are a lot, or if I can't even get it around to them at all, because at this rate, I'm not sure if I'll ever catch up, but, like, you know. But other than that, happy new year, I guess. Like, finally we have gotten out of 2020, and I know it's still, like, messy and weird, but, like, hopefully at least we have a fresh start, you know. We've got, like, we're turning in a new page of the novel of life. I gotta go. By the way, I am now going back to uploading every week, so gonna try that out. Every second video will be, like, a shorter, more current video, and then the other ones will be like my long form regular videos. So yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!